current mayor, John Jasinski, is running for state senate. Oh, I already got a question. Texted. 507-838-5233. We'll get to those texted questions in the second segment of our show. First of all, introduce the candidates. Janna Viscomi. Did I say that right, Janna?
Yes, you did. Very well.
And Kevin Voracek.
Correct.
Is that right?
You've had 10 years to get it right. So
I know. I've had a little while to get it right. But Kevin Voracek, Janna Viscomi in studio. I guess I'll start with why you guys decided to run, and I'll start with you, Janna.
Oh, I just thought it would be a great opportunity to maybe change the attitude a little bit of the council. Maybe make a few changes that haven't already taken place. Just be in a position where you can maybe work towards getting things done a little bit more efficiently than they are currently. But the key to all this is no matter what I would like to do, it's still up to 4 members of the council to move anything forward. So that's really important that we work together as a team to achieve whatever each individual person is there to achieve. Working as a team is vital, I think.
I should note that both these individuals are currently, if you don't know, on the Faribault City Council. Kevin?
Well, I've been on the council for 8 years, and I was on planning commission before that. So when I heard that John was relinquishing his seat for another opportunity, I decided that it was the time to step up. I've had the experience and the knowledge of how the government operates. Like my opponent here, I was very questionable when things got in, and really questioned why government works the way that it does and why it takes the amount of time that it does. But after being in for 8 years, I've realized what happens and why it happens. But I've always been critical of getting some processes put in place so that when you come into City Hall for something, you can actually see what you have to get done. So I think that helps out our business members and some other members of the community that come into City Hall for a few different things, and lays out a structured plan so that they can understand what they're up against.
So that's currently not happening?
It happens on a very limited basis, but not nearly enough. We're starting some new grant programs downtown, and I think there needs to be a worksheet that you can just literally put down in front of you and have steps 1 through whatever so that you can get your process done.
Do you agree with that, Janna?
Oh, absolutely. I would take it one step further and really focus on customer service. You know, in the real world in business, you have to have excellent customer service, and everybody that comes into, whether it's my business or City Hall, they need to be addressed immediately and really assisted. You know, so we really need to be in a position where we are able to receive people and efficiently take care of them and let them know they're very valued.
Number of years ago, a former mayor was on an area lake and was approached by a executive of a big box store who said he wanted to come to Faribault, but said the process was so cumbersome, dealing with City Hall was so difficult, they decided not to come to our city. Now this is several years ago. Whether or not that's perceived or it's reality, your thoughts on what you just expressed, you know, more customer, which those people that want to come here are customers, right?
I think the key is to, one, market us. You know, we have to be marketing ourselves. We're not marketing ourselves at all. And then once we do, you know, get someone that wants to buy into our 2040 vision, now what do? Do we bounce them amongst 10 different people? Do we run them through a gamut of different committees, you know, or do we really efficiently move them through and constantly, you know, support their endeavor, because they're the investors we need.
Yeah, I have 30 seconds here, Kevin.
I think it's absolutely true. If we had a process laid out that was easy to follow through step by step, it shouldn't really matter who you get in City Hall, as long as they're in the correct department, of course. But they should be able to walk you through that process.
All right. We're going to visit more, and I do have some texted questions already. Love that. 507-838-5233 is the number. If you'd like to text a question in, we will.
Small business owners, and less accountability for the people raising healthcare costs and prescription drug prices. So what did Brian Daniels actually do to help us?
Well, Brian Daniels set up this complaint line. Do you have any requests?
Yes, tell him I'd like a new state representative.
This independent message paid for by the DFL House Caucus, neither approved by nor the responsibility of any candidate.
Get on our AM Minnesota program, Janna Viscomi and Kevin Voracek are in studio. They want to be your next mayor here in the city of Faribault, and so that's why we have them on the show today, so they can get out their message. And we want you to be an informed voter when you hit the booth on November 8th. Of course, after those polls close, you know where to tune to get all the results, right here on KDHL radio. We'll have all the local results, all the statewide results. I don't know how much we'll dive into the national. We have ABC that'll carry that for us. And the statewide races, Minnesota News Network will assist us with on election night. After the polls close, we'll hit the airwaves. So we do have a texted question here, and the question is, currently the city taxes lodging to promote Faribault. It then gives this money to the Chamber of Commerce. Is this the role of government? Why do this? Kevin, I'll let you start.
Well, a number of years ago, the city decided to contract with the chamber for tourism services. So this would be the money that they're speaking of that gets passed off. That's a contracted position. The chamber has been the tourism agency in Faribault for many years, dating as back as long as I can even find in books. But we've made a formal agreement this past year and not this last year, 2 years ago, and put a board into place to oversee that money that goes over to the chamber so that the board can have some direction as to what the chamber does with it, rather than just the chamber maintaining the money and using it as they see fit. So we do have some oversight. But it is a contracted out position, and it is currently with the chamber, but it is possible that that could move elsewhere in the future.
Janna?
Okay, so the question is it government's role? So I'm actually one of those people that do get taxed because I do have a hotel, and the money is turned over to the city, and then the city contracts with the Chamber of Commerce to do this work. It's been done with them for 10, 15 years. Where I see this going, and it's only a suggestion from myself, would be to see that stay within the City of Faribault. Right now we do absolutely no marketing for our current city, and potentially developing economically, having somebody do a dual role in marketing existing businesses and also marketing potential businesses, and having somebody with a marketing background that could do that with direct oversight from our administrator, which is then directly oversaw by us as a council. Another possibility is possibly contracting just for the service of marketing itself, So there's a lot of different possibilities and avenues in which can do this. I just don't think that at the time that it was contracted with the chamber that there was any other options on the table. So to pursue different avenues might be something to look at, because then the decision that was made was ultimately the best one.
Norton Johnson is currently the community development director, community marketing director, right?
Mm-hmm.
The City of Faribault?
For the chamber.
Mm-hmm.
He's an employee of the chamber, and then he markets Faribault because he's the chair on the tourism. He's not the chair, he's the chamber representative on the tourism board.
But he does market Faribault.
Absolutely.
I mean, you were saying that Faribault is not currently being marketed.
Their existing businesses are being marketed by Nort. That's current businesses. Potential businesses are not. Okay, that would be economic development.
Sure. Yep.
So we're not tying marketing on all levels through the city itself with direct oversight from our administrator. That's not happening. It is being, branched out to the chamber to do that work. And then Nort also does the Main Street. So Nort is doing 3 positions actually. He's doing tourism, he's doing Main Street, and he also works for the chamber.
So you would advocate having a marketing position in the city, you're saying?
In the economic development department. That's where I think it would be most effective, because right now we're not marketing at all. So we're not gaining new businesses, essentially. There's nothing that's marketing our 2040 vision.
Is that true, Kevin?
That is true. We haven't done a whole lot of marketing for the 2040 vision, but the dollars that come in from that lodging tax also cannot be spent within the City of Faribault. So they have to be spent elsewhere unless it's directly related to the cost of the product being delivered. But if we buy like a billboard or advertising materials, those have to go outside of the city. They can't be spent locally. So the tourism dollars always have been a touchy subject, but I should say they've been a controversial subject as to how they get spent. But I think we're going in the right direction, and it's been improving over the last couple of years.
Now, I don't know if you're going to remember this off the top of your head. Do you know how much money is raised with the lodging tax? Just ballpark figure.
This year it's right around $102,000. It used to be closer to $92,000, and it's gone up a little over the last couple of years.
So it's not as much as people might think.
No, you can't hire a full-time position and do marketing with it. So that's why we contract out the services, so we can get more bang for our buck.
Right. I mean, much of that $104,000, if you were to go the right route of having your own marketing director, would go toward the salary.
Right, but
Right.
if you were to hire an economic developer, which we are looking at doing right now, part of that wage could potentially be paid for by this dollar. They're co-opting the money. We could essentially be co-opting the money, and then part of our economic development director, part of that wage could be paid for by this tourism dollar. He could be doing that work and also doing work to market our own community.
Again, the number is 507-838-5233. That was an excellent question. I guess I'll ask what your top goals would be if elected. I'll start with you, Janna.
I would really like to see more done for the youth of our community, more recreational activities, definitely the development of the park along our river, accessing our natural resources, the redevelopment of our downtown. I think it really needs to have a lot of financial investment made outside of our community or potentially within it, meaning private investors, not so much city investment, but what can we do to spur that investment that's so desperately needed. I'd like to work with the school district and see how we can collaborate on different things that the school district wants to do as well as the city, because the school is essential to our economic development. If families are going to move here, they're definitely going to look at the rating of our school. I'd like to see more collaboration with Shattuck St. Mary's. I'd like to see more development along the freeway. I think economic development is probably key because I think our crime in our police department, I think we've done a lot in the last 4 years to assist the police department. I think they're in a really good position right now. Now we need to move on to the other things that were not as critical, and that's where I'd like to see a lot of focus and energy be made.
Your goals, if elected.
My goals, whether I'm elected or not, would actually stay the same. But continuing our development with Shattuck St. Mary's and the school district are highly important, because there's been a few CEOs in town that have said that they've had a tough time getting their lead employees to move to town because the ratings aren't favorable. So they move to a larger city with a better school district or more activities. And the activities is something that I'm really hitting on. Is I think Faribault needs more entertainment value. They need laser tag, mini golf, maybe a movie theater of some sort again, probably a complex, because you can't make too much money on a movie theater anymore. That's a tough game these days. But we need more entertainment value in Faribault. We need something for the kids to do that aren't involved in sports. We've got lots of parks, we've got lots of sports programs, but we need to find those kids that aren't in those type of programs something to do. Keep them off the street, keep them active, keep them engaged in the community. Because otherwise I think we're going to become a texting society, and people won't know how to interact with people face to face, and that's something that's really scary. So we need to figure out how to get people back out on the streets, get them involved in events, get them downtown to come to festivals or volunteering at different places, you know, the Paradise or the school district or the historical society. There's lots of ways to get involved in the community, and I think we just need to keep getting people involved in the community and keep getting activities that people want to do, and finding more places for them to do those at.
507-838-5233 to text your questions, 507-838-5233. I did ask the council candidates last Friday if they thought our police and fire departments are adequately staffed, so I guess I'll ask you guys that as well. Start with you, Kevin.
I think our fire department is very well run. They've been at 9 full-time employees for quite some time, with some part-time on-call employees, and those numbers always fluctuate a little bit as people move and change things in life. But I think we've been keeping that rather well staffed. As far as our police department goes, it's been a huge changeover since Chief Bolin has come in. I think the morale has dramatically improved, and we've been slowly adding officers, and I think there's one more slated to be added in the latter half of next year. So I think our forces are getting very, very well maintained.
I would agree. I really take the advice of Chief Bolin. I mean, whatever he needs, I really listen to what tools, what resources he needs, and I try to advocate for that, because it's crucial that we continue to be proactive and not reactive when it comes to this.
Fire as well?
Absolutely, yeah. I think we're really I think we really listen to both of those department heads and give them all the tools they need.
It seems kind of interesting. I've been here almost 30 years, and they went to a 9-man staff, I want to say like 25 years ago. Close to that. I don't remember exactly the year. It's been a long time, and it's been at 9 ever since in 25 years.
Correct, and every time one of our fire chiefs goes to a state meeting, they ask him, how do you do that? How do you maintain that at 9, and how do you get everything done that needs to be done? And we actually maintain more than just fire in Faribault. We also do a lot of emergency rescues, and if somebody calls 911 with a heart attack, odds are that fire truck is going to show up before the ambulance does, which is backward in my world, why it costs the taxpayer more for that. But I think the ambulance should be there first, but we've had multiple conversations. We've actually sat down with our ambulance provider and asked them why this is, and can we get any money back on it, because we beat them to the scene 90% of the time. And the answer was no, because the funding is completely different. But that's always been one question in my mind as to why we always beat the ambulance. But it is what it is, and that's why we have such a good fire department.
So you're saying that the fire department hasn't come to the council and said, hey, we need a couple more guys full-time?
No, they have never requested that, because they know that it would be a long uphill battle, I'm sure. Because they work well with their 24-hour shifts, and they work well with their group of 9. And actually, we're swearing in a new fire officer tomorrow night. So.
For your council meeting?
Yes.
Again, folks, the number to call is 507, or I should say text, is 507-838-5233, 507-838-5233. I'll ask you if you could list Faribault's strengths. What do you think are Faribault's strengths, Janna?
I think our proximity to the metro is great. I mean, it can also sting us when it comes to big boxes, but when it comes to the proximity for commuting, I think it's awesome. The proximity to the freeway is great. I think the rivers and the lakes that are already a natural resource that we have here. I think Shattuck St. Mary's is, I mean, an amazing attribute to our community. The fact we have an amazing hospital, we have an airport, we have a lot of school choices. We have a lot. You know, it was very surprising. I went to a meeting when I first got elected to a council meeting, or a council gathering in Mankato where they train you. And I sat at a table amongst people, and I was really, you know, very critical of our community. And I didn't realize just all that we had until I spoke to other people that were trying to figure out how to economically develop a farm field. That's pretty much all they had around them, was a farm field and a convenience store. And I was like, we are in a very good position to be moving forward. We just have to take these attributes and we have to run with them. Because if we can't get big boxes based on our proximity to the cities, then we can darn well get mom and pops, and we can get entrepreneurs, and we can be an incubator for these. So there's a lot of things that we can do based on what we have. We just have to really accentuate it.
Kevin, our strengths, Faribault's strengths.
Well, I think we're the land of opportunity. There's nothing that the council has ever said no to. You can't open it in Faribault. There's been a lot of challenges. So I think if you can get your business open through the challenges of Faribault, you can make it through a lot of things in life. I think one thing that we've had great this year is the expansion of Faribault Foods. We've had 3 new restaurants open. We've got a 4th one that's about to open. I mean, there's all kinds of great things to celebrate about Faribault. We used to be the Athens of the West. I think we can get our education system back that direction. As far as sports go, Shattuck is doing great. The high school has got some great teams. BA volleyball has been on the radar forever about great volleyball and sports. But I do think developing our trail systems in Faribault is still important. And even the DNR waterway trail system, which is a statewide program that we're not taking advantage of, that we could be a huge part of. So trying to figure out how to reuse our assets that are here and build upon what we have, I think is incredibly necessary. And it doesn't need to be groundbreaking new ideas. I think some of it's just fine tuning and finding people to invest in it, because a lot of people don't believe that it's the job of the city to develop some of these things. So we need to find private investors to help us keep growing the city.
Now I'll ask Faribault's weaknesses, Kevin. What do you see as Faribault's weaknesses?
I think Faribault's weakness is quite often a closed mind. They're set in their ways quite often, and they're unwilling to try some new things, or if they try it once, they're done, and they never want to give it a second opportunity. I think that happens way too often in this town, and I've always said that if you like something in town, you need to support it, because if you're not supporting what's going on in town, you won't get any more growth in town. So it's very important that people have an open mind rather than be set in their ways that they've had for the last who knows how long.
Janna?
I would agree with that. But I would also add in too, when it comes to economics, our medium income definitely is something that people will consider when investing here because they look at numbers. So we really have to be able to play the number game because it's not just right. I mean, the medium income, yes, they'll base it off of what's in the city, but they also need to add what's outside of the city because we service more than just what's in our property or our city limits. And we really cater to, you know, a far greater population than just the 23,000 that's listed. So we have to incorporate that as well along the lakes and so forth. I do think that change is difficult for a lot of people, being open-minded. And I think sometimes too on a city level or a higher level, work ethic. You know, in the real world, in my world, it's not a 30-hour work week. It's more like 50, and you stay with things until it's done, you know, and you're really determined and you care deeply, you know. So it's very important that we continue that same message of pride, and that we have to continue to teach that to every generation that we are a prideful community, and that our bar is much higher than where we have it set right now.
Admittedly, oh, go ahead, Kevin.
Gordy, I just want to add a note in there. When we talk about the median income of Faribault, we also have to remember that we're a little bit lower because everybody that's in the prison system gets counted into our average household income in Faribault. So it's not a true representation. If you can figure out a way to cut out the bottom, 5,000 people, it would be a more accurate representation.
Well, they get added into our population too.
Well, absolutely. But as far as their wages go, which
Right.
aren't very high at the prison, so that does skew our numbers. Also, the same is true for Northfield with all their students.
Admittedly, the number, by the way, is 507-838-5233. Admittedly, this next topic is kind of my little pet peeve. The south interchange on I-35, which is a partial interchange, has been there, well, since I've been here, and probably long before that. Can we get that to a full interchange? I'll start with you, Janna.
That would be great. I think, and I once again, this is where it comes into, I'm not that privy to how things are done, but I do think persistence is key. So if it's something that you really want, you have to be very, very persistent, and you have to make it very important to those that can make that decision. Because I do believe it's MnDOT, am I right?
Mm-hmm.
That has to make that decision. But it's also a buy-in on the community as well, am I right? That
Correct.
We have a great deal of financial investment that needs to be made on that as well.
Have you ever seen a city that had a partial interchange?
I don't travel much.
Well, Kevin, you travel a lot, right?
I do. Once in a while it does happen, depending on how the city is set up, but you have to remember that we do have 2 other full interchanges coming into Faribault. And I know they're looking at trying to get the County Road 8 interchange put in, or County Road 9, wherever it lands, that's
but
closer.
Does that make sense when you got a partial one on the south side?
Well, it depends on who's the driving factor. Is it the residential market that's pushing it, or is it the business market that's pushing it? Because as you know, in Lakeville, that wasn't a government project. That was a buy-in by the city to go and pay for that.
Absolutely.
That was not a MnDOT funded project.
Right.
So when you're looking at who's going to pay for it, is a citizen going to care if they have to drive another 4 minutes to get to their house if it's going to cost them $1 billion? Or is a business going to look at, well, if I can't get all my trucks in here in a timely and reasonable manner, I think I'll invest the money to cooperate in this project with the county and the state and the city to get this project done. So a number of years ago, we started a workforce group with the county just to look at the north interchanges. And John Jasinski and Steve Underdahl have been on that commission, and along with a couple of the Rice County members, and they've talked about it for years, and they've been pushing, and I don't think it's on MnDOT's radar yet, but they've been pushing hard to try and get these interchanges completed.
You mean the south one?
The south and the north, yes.
Well, we got a couple minutes left in the show. I'll let each of you summarize why people in Faribault should vote for you as our next mayor. And I'll start with you, Kevin, because I started with Janna to start the show.
Well, I think my family of 4 is out and about quite often. We support a lot of activities that go on. We eat at the restaurants when they start up, and we continue eating at them after they start up. We participate in a lot of events downtown and out at the mall, wherever they happen to may be. I think our family of 4 likes to stay busy in Faribault, and I think that if Faribault needs a good mayor that's out in the public and easy to find, and so I hope that you believe that Voracek is the right check for mayor this November.
Janna?
I I would really love the opportunity to do this. I've been invested in this community for a long time. I've been in customer service for a very long time, raised our family, grew up here. I think I bring to the table a level, or I bring to this a level of work ethic that most people are not familiar with, and I like accountability, and I like everyone to be on the same page and to work as a team, and to maybe change the attitude of how we do things and what is important to us, and really send a message to not only the people that live in this community but people on the outside of this community that we have a great deal of value here, not only the businesses but the people. And we're very prideful, and we want more, and I think we have to be willing to take those risks, and we have to listen to the people of this community. They're the ones that we work for, and I think that needs to be carried through all the way to the top, so that they can be advocated for.
All right. Well, thanks for coming in today. I certainly appreciate it, Kevin and Janna.
Thank you.
It's always the quickest half an hour in Faribault.
I know it is, isn't it?
It did fly
It just
by.
runs right by. I really should have extended these shows to an hour, but we have to deal with the time that we're allotted, I guess.
Right.
That's true in life too, isn't it?
And thanks for having us.
You bet. That concludes today's KDHL AM Faribault, Minnesota.